back to the Off-Grid family. Today I am finally getting around to finishing, or at least partially finishing, the 3D printer enclosure that I started making a million years ago. I've decided to make it remote control for a multitude of reasons, but one of which is it just makes life a little bit easier for the linear actuator. It makes the lighting arrangement that I wanted a little bit harder, but swings and roundabouts in that respect. It has been absolutely ages since I said I was going to do this, to which I apologise, but I've always got a million things on. I was telling my wife today that I think genuinely my bucket list is actually just projects I'm hoping to finish before I die. But anyway, I will show you what I've got planned and how I'm going to do it, and we'll go from there. This is what I got. There might be more things I add to it. Originally, I was doing a whole thing with Arduino and motor drivers and various other stuff, and thankfully I decided to go with the remote control, which is here. Well, this is a receiver, and it uses relays, so it just means it makes my life easier when using the linear actuator. It's got two controllers with it, one which will always be stuck on the side of the actual box in case I lose the other one, and the other one will be on my keys or something. I've got 12 volt adapter and a 12 volt doohickey. You will see it's all wired up, sort of. I've been experimenting and investigating. I didn't want to start this project and then find I needed something else, so I thought I'd try and do it, which I'll show you all of that process in a bit. I 3D printed out a mount for the spool, which will go on the side somewhere here, as in the filament spool, I assume you know that. And I've also got these lights. I think they were automotive lights, you know, for interior of cars and stuff. Whatever, they're 12 volts. And I think I'm going to have two that are remote control, and then two which are a button. Now the remote control ones, because of the way I've set it up, only when you press down will it activate. So I can press down and the door will start to open, or the box. I can press B and it will start to close. So the lights, if I press, I have to hold them to keep them on. So what I'm doing is I'm having two of the lights that are just inspection lights. So I can press the button and I can just inspect that it's still working fine and there's no problems. And then somewhere I'll have a button for if I want to keep a light on, if, for example, I'm recording it 3D printing. Anyway, let's get on with this because I need to get my 3D printer back up and running. Okay, so this is the shoddy wiring I have done just to test to see if it would work. I'm trying to show you because I know some people really find it difficult to do schematics and things, so I prefer a wire out diagram sometimes. But basically what I'm going to do now, after snapping that piece out, is I'm going to take all of the wires out, and I'm actually going to actually solder to the bottom, because what I normally would do is I'd take these connectors off completely and go from there. But I'm going to actually solder what I need to the bottom just for this section, and on this side in a bit I'm going to solder the lighting to it, but I haven't worked out what I want to do with that. Cool, that looks terrible on there. That looks like someone's had to take it out for some reason and put it in again. But anyway, yeah, so I'm actually going to take all of this out and I'm actually going to solder directly to the bottom. I'll be back once I've done that. Also, I will put some high-res photos of this in now, see? And this is obviously the back, but you're already looking at it as well. You were already, you know what I mean. But I will then put some schematics up as well of how it needs to be wired up for an actuator. You know, it would work for a motor as well. So if you wanted a motor that turns left and right, clockwise and anti-clockwise, you could do the exact same thing as the wiring diagram you're looking at now, but obviously I'm using it for a actuator. Right, in a minute, once I've done this, I will then show you the pin out for doing the lighting as well. Would you like me to do a demonstration on how to use this? Possibly. I may do a demonstration on how to use the remote control thing as well. Okay, so I've actually made it look quite neat for once in my life. I just spent a bit more time on it, to be honest. And that is the wiring connecting everything together. We've got the actuator here and the 12 volt in. and it works, which is handy as hell. So next I'm going to look into wiring up some LEDs. Okay, so hang on, let me get that in shot. That is the device suppose we've got. Oh, hang on. Up. Let's try and get this thing. This is supposed to work 100 meters. It won't, and this before I brought the antenna out, which you're not supposed to. You'd literally have to be here to be able to do it. By the way, I'm wearing a coat and a jumper, coat and fingerless mittens because George was just doing a bird watching thing from the front door, and the house is now freezing. Right. Oh, anyway, so that's up. That's down, and then we've got the light, which I will now wire up to the inside. Okay, so let's have a look. Ow. I'm thinking about putting the remote control. Oh no, it's gonna have to be on the other side. The remote control receiver on this side, and then I'm gonna have a light on the top facing downwards, and one on the side facing across, so we can hopefully get both angles of the actual 3D printer. I'm actually going to get that in now, and I'm wire that in, and I'm going to screw this in. Now with this, I think I'm just going to find a place I think it might fit and put it there, because I can't be bothered to get the 3D printer, put it in, check that that fits, then take the whole thing out again. So I'm not going to. This could be the downfall of me, but you know, it's all fun and games, isn't it? Right, I've just screwed this down now. I've zip tied up the excess that comes from the linear actuator, and I've put the DC plug just behind there so I can plug the other, you know, the one straight from the outlet through the hole and into it. I've now just spliced two wires together so that I can connect the two wires, the two LEDs together. So I'm going to put that in now. Okay, that's all wired up and the lights actually work. I need to put another antenna on the receiver because of the range is so poor, but it's working, so that's all that counts. Right, I have wired up the lights and the linear actuator. Actuator and lights, there. Now can you see that? That is because this transmitter and receiver that can go up to 100 meters literally won't work 2 foot away from it unless you've pulled the antenna and unwound it all. It's not supposed to be unwound, by the way. So I'm going to have to actually add an extra bit of wire to it. It's not going to be a major hard or anything, but right, next job then is to make the antenna bigger, and I'm going to stick the lights in. I was going to be putting this straight in, and I was just going to hit and hope where to go. And then I started looking at the 3D printer, looking at the space I had, and I thought to myself, I can guarantee if I drill some holes now, it will get in the way of the 3D printer and it will be a waste of time. So I'm going to put the 3D printer in first and go from there. Like I said, I definitely wouldn't a second ago. Right, yeah, sticking in the lights first and I'll be back. Right, I have hot glued it to within an inch of its life so all the wires look neat and fine. If something does go wrong, I basically have to now burn it and start again because there's no way of unpicking any of this. But I've put one light on this side here so that I can actually look from this side where it goes. I can only look from this side to make sure that the nozzle's down low enough, etc, etc, and it just means I can see from here. And then I've got the light from above that allows me to check everything else. It all works fine. The only thing is, at the moment, I've just used a small yellow wire, as you can see there, on the antenna. I'm going to make a coil of copper wire or something as an antenna, but I'm just using that for now. I'm going to go and have a look, see if I've got any wire, because I need to make it now, because otherwise that temporary job will, you know, that will become permanent. Okay, there it is done. I've put the spool holder on, which I'll show you a close-up of, and I've also made a bit more of an antenna. Let me show you. Okay, I went a bit silly with the antenna. Let me give it a bit more light so we can see it. I sort of, you know, did a whole entire back as an antenna, which means I can do it from across the room easily. Second I get out to a door or a wall, you know, it doesn't work. But, you know, the 100 meters that it claims is a slight exaggeration. Spool holder's pretty nice there. And it fits a big or a small one with the 3D printer there. I did try it out. And the lighting all works fine, etc. And obviously, as I said, all of this works. I don't like every project I do, but to be honest, I'm proper impressed with this one. Not impressed, but I'm proud of myself. I like this. You know, it is perfect. And I think I'm going to be able to start printing in ABS again now, because not having an enclosure for it, I still could make it. I still could print in it, but it was just difficult, and it would, you know, move away from the bed, etc. But I think this should make it a lot easier now. I've done one other upgrade on this, and that is I've put a little hook on the side so I can hook the spare remote to it. So if I do lose one, I've always got the other one. Okay, there you go. It's over in the corner now with all the filament and all the other stuff that I put on top of it all the time. I shouldn't, but I always let it open up even with all that stuff on it. It's really heavy. The linear actuator will pick up about 300 pounds, something like that, but the box I made will not. So one day it'll just fall to pieces. But yeah, it works absolutely perfectly. As with a lot of my devices, it's not got everything I always wanted in it, but that's not, you know, as and when I will add more and more, and I always do over time until it's, you know, able to go back to the future, whatever. But it works really well. I stopped printing overnight before I'd fix this all up, because the temperature dropped so much that a lot of things would come away from the heat bed, etc. But now even ABS won't come away. It's still, you know, it works fine. It's a bit more of a pain for me setting up ABS, but it, you know, it still works. I prefer PLA all the time anyway. But anyway, I hope that was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, see you again soon. Bye.